What's up, poker players? This is Richard. I thought I'd go over 5 tips to help improve your game during a downswing. I know as poker players, we're all going to go through downswing at some point in time, regardless of how good you play. It happens. I've just gone through one of my worst, probably my worst downswing I think ever recently, and my two worst ones I noticed is this is going to go on to tip number one is assess if there's an external event occurring that might be interfering with your life or finances in general. So whenever we go through like tough times in life, it's just a time that we got to maybe take a step back from poker and focus on that event and take care of that event. We don't want to let things kind of dwindle from that event that you know it's going to interfere with our poker game. So, for example, my most recent one, unfortunately, my toddler was very sick during this last winter for about 3 months off and on. He had like reoccurrent croup, RSV, COVID. Prior to that, he was doing pretty good. He was healthy. He wasn't really getting sick, and then all of a sudden, he was just up all night coughing with a fever. He'd be down for like 3 weeks. He'd get better for like a week or two, and then just be sick again. And during that time, it was just a lot of stress. We had to take him to the hospital a few times. I mean, it was scary when he's waking up gasping for breath and can't breathe and has a high fever and everything. And there's just definitely more important things than poker. Anyway, during those times, like at first, I'm of course I'm not really playing as much and taking care of them, but I mean, since it was such a long period over several months, I'm still trying to mix in some games and such. But if you keep trying to play at like higher stakes with higher volume, it's gonna kick you in the butt basically. Like it's just gonna add additional stress and then add additional pain and additional loss. All that just doesn't work out very well. The other time was actually I had just moved to Vegas almost 10 years ago and got in a car wreck, and there was a weird kind of lapse in my car insurance which didn't cover the wreck, and I had to pay a bunch of money out of pocket. All of a sudden, like, my bankroll looks like crap, and I'd been doing pretty consistent since I moved. But I'd only been in Vegas for a couple weeks, and um, but then after that time, I just started losing session after session, and it's just made me more worried about bankroll and such. So key point principle here is that you don't hear quite as often, but kind of in the back end. But of course, is should just be fundamental to uh, just taking care of your life. So take care of your life first. Take care of that stuff. Get back on track, and that is going to actually go into I'll skip what I have for number two and go to number three, because since this is more related, even though two's probably a little bit less conventional than what you hear, but this one's going to be a little bit more conventional. Is just practice healthy life principles and get your life, back on track in terms of your sleep patterns, your nutrition, taking care of what I mentioned in one. Anything that's going on in life that you need to take a break from is fine. Um, and So this one is just kind of getting back to fundamentals. Like I have like an Aura ring, or you might have some type of tracking device that tracks your sleep and tells you your deep sleep, your REM. Make sure that's all aligned and that you're getting the proper amount of sleep, which is key to how you perform, your mood, your energy, all of this. And then mix that in with getting proper nutrition, maybe getting a good vitamin or nutrient regimen going with the food that you're eating. That's all going to affect all that same stuff too as well. Your mood, your energy, which your focus. All this is key to performing well in poker and just optimizing your overall performance, along with things like meditation and awareness practices. I think this kind of helped also with what I'll go back to number two, mixing up the order a little bit here. And workout routine too is just it's gonna help. I notice personally when I have a good solid workout routine, I tend to perform better, and especially when you're finishing workouts, you might. I noticed I was kind of getting halfway through, or like I have sometimes other kind of priorities I have to jump into, or urgent things that I have to jump into. So sometimes I'll get halfway through a workout and have to jump into something else, and then may or may not get back to it. And then when I'm doing that, I notice that my sessions, you might kind of subconsciously trigger that or create a pattern where other things too, like where while you're playing poker and such, you might get halfway through a tournament and just not even realize or not even be conscious or aware of it, but that you're actually kind of not as focused or not playing as well after that point, um, because you've made it to that point that you usually make it to. So like just lately I've been making it a point to finish workouts, and say the last session I got first in a couple of, I mean, smaller field tournaments like 76, I think one was, and 114 entries. But it was nice to get a couple first in same night. And and let's go back to also kind of around this one is just creating a game plan for yourself. Like you might combine all this and put it on your calendar. What works for you is like studying in the morning, perhaps. Setting a routine for sleep too is very good. If you can keep your sleep at a consistent schedule, it's going to make it easier to get good deep and REM sleep. And then also just play time, like when you're playing, and just kind of lifetime. When I say playtime, I mean with poker and such. But and then also just doing other things in life, and having time for family, friends, fun. Um, so going back to number two, which is a little bit less conventional, you don't hear as much directly in relation to downswings, but this is actually something I picked up. I'm not going to give credit, well, like to myself, but I picked up actually from one of Galfon's videos recently, who actually picked it up from Tommy Angelo. And I noticed I've just been trying to apply this the last couple of sessions, and I've had, well, like I mentioned, I had a couple first, last session, is to focus on decisions, not outcomes. And we all kind of know this in the back of our head and such, but how many of us are like in the middle of the hand and such, especially when you're on these kind of bad runs? I notice I tend to kind of get back in this habit of like, oh, please no, you're thinking in the back of your head like, how am I going to get drawn out on this time, or something, or like you lose a little bit of security or confidence in your game. Like you've seen it happen. It feels like so many times where your aces just get cracked by whatever hand, or like the river is just that dreaded 2 out card or something that they nail to uh, crush you on a key spot, like chip lead versus chip lead on the bubble of a tournament. Where you get it in like a 90 something percent favorite like this. It just seemed like this I don't know, happened somewhere recently, but a couple of times at the same session. Anyway, so not just focusing on that, like let that stuff go, like that energy that you're putting into like, oh, please no flush card, or please come ace, stuff like this that are like one time that you're thinking in your head. It's just kind of draining your energy that you could be utilizing to make better decisions. So focus on just making good decisions, and then let the hand go. Like just go on to the next hand, or consider what happens if you bet and they raise. Like have a plan, how you're going to proceed, and with considering like their range and everything and such. But don't you're just kind of wasting energy. And also, if not to get too metaphysical or anything, but if you are just believer of like the law of attraction or things along those lines, then I mean, just by doing this, like hoping and fearing that these cards come, or hoping this card comes, you're taking yourself out of alignment with that energy that the card is there already, or that the result is what you want. And I wouldn't still say that you should be putting yourself like, it's hard to just like, when all these things are going on and stuff, to put yourself in that energetic sphere of like abundance, and that you have that. But I would just focus on decisions and let it go after that. Move on to the next thing. Just minimize your energetic efforts, because that you could utilize for other essentials and things within your control, as a Stoic principle. So those results are outside of your control. So focus on what's within your control. All right. So anyway, hopefully that helps some of you. That's helped me. I noticed in the last couple, just kind of I think I knew that before, but I've been I've kind of known that, but I've been drifting away from that, I think, while on this downswing. So just returning to that should help. Let me know in comments if that helps you at all, or if any of these principles help you. Number 4 is we're going to return to fundamentals and focus on studying. So start to really track and note your hands each session. we want to prioritize fundamentals and common spots before really digging into the more complex and less common spots. Just find good training material or training sites or like a study group, a peer group, and focus on getting better in this way and like reviewing your hands and really looking at your hands. This kind of all ties in with, I guess I'll kind of semi combine this with number 5, which is drop stakes, drop tables, and drop volume. So what I mean by this goes in alignment with that is that if you're dropping the number of tables and dropping the volume and stakes that you're playing, then you can really focus. Well, particularly dropping tables and dropping volume, then you can really focus on the decisions that you're making, and also noting those decisions and also noting other players' tendencies is going to be really helpful. So you want to record any hands that you're in like key spots where you're unsure of and or where you have a difficult decision, so that you can later look those up with dedicated like peer group or some people you trust, or with solvers. Just plug them in through your GTO solvers. There's a number of them. Now I won't name any in particular. I mean, I've used a lot of, well, several of them, and ICM solvers. There's several of those too, and yeah, so just plug those in and figure out what the computer would do it, but then also kind of consider why the computer is doing that. Try to create some heuristics and think about the hand, how it played through. You can do this when you're noting if you're playing less volume too on your opponents. Particularly focus on other regs that you're playing against frequently and see their lines that they've played and try to consider how they're thinking about the hand. So like maybe if are they betting their draws on the turn, or are they checking back? Are they betting their mediocre holdings or top pairs and such? So then in other spots you can be more aware of this when you're multi-tabling with them and you got like 12 tables going, and you don't have to utilize so much energy again to really kind of think out these decisions when you got several tables beeping at you at once, since you're already more aware of kind of their thought patterns in these situations, and you can more easily decide like, okay, this guy commonly takes this spot. There's like it's a drawy board. He's like maybe you've seen him overbet twice on drawy boards with draws, or check back, or vice versa. So then you can kind of assess, well, okay, when the draw hits and then all of a sudden you get check raised on the river, like you've seen him check back, so you know that he does have a lot of draws in his range still. But then when he overbets, if that misses, but you've seen him do that with draws twice, then you might leverage that to decide that you're going to turn your hand into a bluff, but while considering blockers and other elements and such too. But it reduces the amount of thinking and energy that you have to put into the hand if you've already really kind of studied that player's tendencies and studied your own tendencies in hands, and just going back to those fundamentals. So hopefully some of that helps you guys. Let me know if any of that helped, and good luck at the tables this summer. Say it's almost summer, getting ready for the World Series and for some of the other tournaments scheduled over the summer. So hope you guys crush it. Peace.